Hi everyone. I think this is the last strings lecture, and then we're moving on to memory and arrays. Uh, Last time we looked at this, I actually spun my wheels a little bit on scanf underscore s, just because this should be the size of the array or smaller. And it's allowed to be smaller as well. And what we found out just by trial and error is if I try and input a string that's too big for a name, if it's bigger than 39, if I put in 40 characters, let's say, I get nothing. Nothing goes in. I don't get an error message. It just, the system ignores the input. These kinds of things are not actually consistent. When we look at converting ASCII to integers to ASCII or ASCII to integers, there's an inconsistent behavior that when there's an error, in some systems it works one way, in other systems it works a different way. Honestly, it's very frustrating in that respect. So this is something to consider when you're looking at these sort of things. And one of the things, you cannot assume how an error message will actually be handled. You need to write it, see how it goes, and test your code early and often. So we're going to look at built-in functions for CStrings. They normally require IOStream. That's fine. We've already done a bunch of CString functions already. Anything that's involving printf and scanf, I think, also gives you CStrings. But IOStream is useful for that. We're going to be looking at, our C strings normally take in a string name, a pointer to the C string, or the literal string that you can have. So literally the quotes around something, we can have a pointer to a C string or the name of the C string itself. That's the stuff that goes in. Because what we end up having is something like, let's say hello. Any given string has to be stored somewhere else. It's stored somewhere in the memory. HELLO. It's stored somewhere in memory, and either we're pointing to the front of it or the name is pointing to the front of it. It is just pointing to where this thing starts. That's what a pointer is when we'll get to that soon. But it is just, when I say this string, it's actually just saying, okay, that stuff over there. Remember where that big pile of characters we had? Yeah, that stuff. So is C passing in the C string name, passing in a pointer to a C string, or passing in the literal text like hello, will act essentially the same way. It is pointing to wherever the heck that text is stored. The reason you need to point this out is because we're going to have some little weird quirky functions in here. So, string length. String length, the reason we have a 0 at the end, one of the big reasons for it, is this function. It's a wonderful function. It tells you where that 0 is. If I find the terminating character and the terminating character is not included, that tells me the length of my entire string. So if I have a city of size, whatever size is, let's say 200, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 characters. Oh, wait. At position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Position 8 is where the 0 is. So if I call string length, this will actually print off 8. Where the 0 is at position 8. The length of my string is 8. Irrespective of how big the array is, the array could be 200. The length of that string is however many characters until I find that 0. That's what string length does. So we also have things like, and you can actually try and write that function yourself. It's a good practice. String concatenation. Concatenation meaning take two things, stick them together, like sort of duct tape them together, one after the other. So string concatenation, in this case, like hello and then world, if I take my string s and I do a printf, so here is hello, here's my string, here's world. Okay. If I concatenate the two strings, what's that going to do? It's going to put the word world at the end of hello. I better have enough space for it. Notice hello world, the string hello is the array is size 20 because it needs enough space to put also the word world afterwards. If I look at my text, I get hello first, world second. When I concatenate it, I get, oh, I had a space in there. So I actually fix this 2 seconds ago and then didn't realize I had this space right here. So let's get rid of that space. Now it works. If I concatenate it, I don't add spaces or anything like that. I would get hello world, and when I concatenate it, it would be hello world, right? All together, no spaces in between if there was no space between hello and world, right? If neither of those have any spaces. It is just going one string or immediately after the other. That's what concatenation does. And then the next line is the second string, which has not been modified at all. The second string was copied into the first one, but the second string didn't actually get changed at all. So the word world is still there. So concatenation allows me to stick two strings together. So I have a source, I have a destination. The source goes at the back of the destination. And if my array is not large enough with string cat, I overflow and I got bad things happening. This is a big, big issue. You need to make sure that this thing here, the destination, is big enough to hold that extra string. You need to check to make sure that it's big enough. Okay. How about string string? I find it a weird name. Okay. So string string is a built-in, it's a function that we have in our libraries. It is going to check to see the first occurrence of string 2 in string 1. So this is my source. This is the thing I'm looking for. Where does it actually occur? Where does string 2 occur in string 1? So here's my source. It's Wabash. The word I'm looking for is ABA. And I'm going to call string string with Wabash and ABA. It's going to find where ABA exists. It's right here. Where the first occurrence of ABA, it's right here. And it's going to return, this is where it gets a little weird, it returns a pointer where the ABASH is. So it points to right here, and so I will get all the text from the A all the way down afterwards. So when I print it off, I will get wherever this thing is pointing all the way down. String character is finding the first occurrence of a character in a string. If no character is found, I return null. If no character is found, if no substring is found in here, I return null. Null is actually equal to the number 0, but it is just saying, look, there's nothing there. When we deal with pointers, we'll see this in more detail. But string string allows you to find a substring, a string within the string. String character allows you to find a character in the string if one exists, the first occurrence of that character in the string. And string length, which we already talked about. So let's try and write it. Can you write string length yourself? So how would it work? Can I use a for loop? No, I don't think I can use a for loop on this one. Why? Because I don't know how big my string is. Otherwise, I would just use string length, right? String length is supposed to give me the length of that string. I can't use it in itself. So I need to keep walking down my character array until I hit that 0. And when I do, I return the position where that 0 is. That seems to be my algorithm, right? If the 0 is at the very beginning, it's size 0. If the 0 is 4 characters, if there's no 0, I'm in trouble. But these strings are designed to always have a 0 at the end. And if they don't, bad things are going to happen. So that's not our problem. If someone didn't put a 0 at the end of their string, it's not really a string. So let's have a look at this. What could I do here? I could have a while and I'm going to have some kind of int pause. I could call it 0. I could call it I if I wanted. Well, int pause, int pause equals 0. While string of I'm just going to improvise this thing. While it's not equal to my terminating character, I'm going to say pause plus plus, and then I'm going to so I start at position 0. I then go, it's not the end of my string. I go to position 1, it's not the end of my string. Go to position 2, not the end of my string. When I finally get to, let's see one of these examples. Wabash, let's say, I'll position 0, position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4, position 5, position 6, does have the 0, I return the value 6. So in total, the value I return is 6. If I look at this, how long is it? Oh, it's 6 characters long. Great. That's me reinventing string length. All right. So I do want to actually, I'll break this up into another lecture just because I think there's a lot that you're seeing all at once. When we come back next time, we're going to look at some more code of how we can deal with our strings in a bit more detail. And I think we'll even do a little brief introduction to the string objects that we're going to see in 2400, but we're not going to have that on the exams. It's not going to be on assignments. It's just to expose you to it. All right. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you soon.